Lauren, what was the scariest thing you saw this Halloween weekend?
I'd have to say the USC Oregon game.
That was really scary.
Sports Scene starts now.
Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Sports Scene. I'm Nick Kaufman.
And I'm Lauren LeBruna. There's talk of a new athletic director around USC. Sources have confirmed the university has reached a deal with Cincinnati AD Mike Bohn. Bohn would bring some much-needed integrity to the university with his stellar resume and respectable reputation. The Athletics' Bruce Feldman shared the news on Twitter last week. Everyone's expected the news to break Monday, and although it didn't, Annenberg Media is hearing the announcement should come tomorrow. Mike Bohn has been an athletic director since 1998. He has held positions at Idaho, San Diego State, Colorado, and Cincinnati. After 8 years at Colorado, he took over as AD at Cincinnati in 2014.
After some delay about announcing the news, USC is expected to announce Bohn as the new athletic director tomorrow. And now it's time for our weekly football roundtable, and today we have Annalisa Cowie and Faith Bonds joining us for the roundtable.
Thanks for having us.
We're glad to have you here. Now, there's been a lot of talk about the new USC head coach and who it's going to be next year. So who's going to be running the sidelines next season for the Trojans?
Plain and simple, I think it will be Urban Meyer. I think since he has such a good record going into programs like Bowling Green, Utah, Florida, and Ohio State, and he has made them winning programs. He has a 187 to 32 head coaching record. I think that he will be the best fit for USC.
I think USC is going to keep making the same mistake it keeps making and keep Clay Helton on. I think that if they would have let him go, they would have let him go after last year's 5-7 destruction of a season. And now that USC is winning some games, they beat Utah, they beat Stanford at key moments, and they might win these last 3 games, we don't know. I don't think USC is going to find enough reason to fire him, and I think they'll keep him around.
Going back to Urban Meyer, I think a lot of USC fans expect that and they want that, but he is such a bold choice, and that's just not the answer for USC. They need stability during this time, and especially with Urban Meyer's scandal following him at Ohio State, they just can't take the chance with someone like that.
Well, I have to disagree. I'm going to agree with Annalisa on that one, that winning cures everything, and the only coach available who can win is Urban Meyer. I think bringing him in, yes, there's some issues about his past, but at the end of the day, it will be forgotten. USC will win, and that's what USC needs, is a strong football team. That's been what sort of has made the university popular and has sort of been in the bloodlines of the school since its inception. So I think Urban Meyer is the only logical choice if USC wants to maintain its prestige on the football field. And now there are 3 games left in the season, and the Trojans are 5-4. They take on Arizona State and Cal on the road before closing off against UCLA at home in the Coliseum. Can the Trojans win out these last 3 games?
I think the Trojans can win the last 3 games, but I don't think they will win the last 3 games. They've had not a great road record this season, barely scraping up a win to Colorado and dropping the rest. I don't think the chances are good for them to beat ASU and Cal on the road, especially after a horrible Oregon loss. I think probably ASU is the likely one to drop, considering Cal is on its second-string quarterback, a little bit of an easier opponent before heading back for UCLA. I don't have a lot of faith in the Trojans right now.
I agree with you. I believe in USC, and I want to believe that they're going to win these next games, but I just don't think it'll happen because it's true. Their road record has everything to do with it. So I don't know, facing these teams away, if they're going to execute and come away with wins.
I'm going to agree that USC may not win the next 3 games, but I think that USC will be shocked at the Coliseum by UCLA. I think that UCLA has gone into their last couple games in the last few weeks and won them, so I think that they will shock us and USC will not be ready for it. So.
All right, well, you guys have no faith in the football team. I think they will win out, but we now send it over to our sports betting specialist, Michael Loy.
Thanks, Nick. USC's hopes for a road goal were mostly eliminated in the Trojans' loss to Oregon last Saturday. However, USC only needs 1 more win to make a postseason bowl game. Here's a look at where USC can go bowling at the end of December. USC's most likely postseason trip is to El Paso, Texas, where the Trojans would play in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl on December 31st against a team from the Atlantic Coast Conference. USC's last trip to the Sun Bowl was a 2012 loss to Georgia Tech when the Trojans finished 7-6 on the season. ESPN has a little more hope for the Trojan faithful, projecting the Trojans in a match against Jim Harbaugh in the Michigan Wolverines in the Holiday Bowl on December 27th. USC made back-to-back Holiday Bowls in 2014 and 2015, losing both games. Bleacher Report's projections have a homecoming matchup for USC offensive coordinator Graham Harrell, projecting the Trojans in a matchup against the Mason Fine-led offense. However, USC's chances for matches, they will have a chance to make the Pac-12 championship. While UC fans might be disappointed with the team's postseason bowl options, it will give the young team more practices and another chance to improve through an up and down season. USC Basketball is hoping to have a better year than the football team this season. Let's check in with Jillian to see what's up on the court.
The USC men's basketball team kicked off the season last night with a 77-48 win over the Florida A&M Rattlers at home. Five-star freshmen Isaiah Mobley and Onyeka Okongwu are making a splash with the Trojans, racking up 37 points and 20 rebounds collectively against the Rattlers. The duo has shown that they are a force on both offense and defense. Both teams struggled out of the gate, with the Trojans only leading the Rattlers by 1 point at the end of the first half. Freshman guard Ethan Anderson and freshman forward Max Akpakpolo also saw some court time last night. This number 7 ranked recruiting class can contribute a lot to the Trojans, from skilled defense to accurate shooting, and USC will be looking for the team to continue delivering on the court. USC has a strong returning core in team veterans senior guard Jonah Matthews, senior forward Nick Rakocevic, and sophomore guard Elijah Weaver. Dewar Sport freshman Drake London will join the squad once he finishes the football season.
Our two freshman point guards had 11 assists and 2 turnovers. And then they deliver the passes at the right time, usually. They still make some freshman mistakes, but they're both, we are so happy with them. They're both going to be terrific basketball players for our program. But they have to keep developing quickly because we need them to win this year.
Though they were one of the top scoring teams in the Pac-12, the Trojans went 16-17 last season. They saw a short-lived tournament run, knocked out by regular season champ Washington in the quarterfinals. Facing teams like Pepperdine and Long Beach early in the season will give the Trojans the opportunity to boost their standings in the Pac-12 before conference play begins, and improve their chances of a March Madness appearance. The schedule gets more difficult in December as USC takes on the LSU Tigers. Pac-12 play will begin in January when the Trojans face off against Washington State. Even with new talent and a strong veteran core, matchups against Pac-12 favorites Oregon and Colorado could pose a challenge for the young Trojan team. Non-conference matchups continue for the Trojans as they host the Portland Pilots on Friday, November 8th. Tip-off is at 8 p.m. in the Galen Center.
All right, well, I'm now joined here in studio with senior outside hitter Khalia Lanier. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, you just won Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week for the 4th time. How does that feel?
It feels really good. I think this season we've kind of been plagued by injuries a little bit. It's unfortunate, but whatever I can do to help my team. This week it was really heavy on the offensive, doing my job offensively. So I just tried to do that, and we came up with a big win against UW. Unfortunately, we fell a little short against Washington State, but we're looking to come back in these next 2 matches. Well,
as you said, in that win against Washington, you actually hit 33 kills, which is a career high for you, and you now have 1,800 kills, which is 3rd all-time in USC history. How does it feel being in volleyball history at USC? Yeah, it's really crazy. When I was choosing between Texas and USC, my mom made me make this little pros and cons list, and on my cons at USC was, am I able to make history? So it's kind of weird having that come full circle and being able to put up numbers like that with the greatest girls ever on this team. So they help me a lot, calling out open shots and stuff like that, and it's just my job to try to provide for them and get some kills out there. Well, you certainly made history here at USC, so that's something to be very proud of. Thank you. And you mentioned it a little bit earlier, talking about injuries. There were probably high expectations coming into the season for the team nationally ranked, and now not ranked, but you've had to deal with with a lot of injuries, as you said. So what's been sort of the mantra for the team to get through these injuries?
Yeah, I think after Brooke went down in the UW game, everyone was like, I think a lot of different emotions, scared, anxious, kind of wondering what's next. But at this point, there's like nothing else to lose, so we can go out there, play as hard as we can. We know we're kind of at a disadvantage right now, but it does show how deep we can be as a team. So that is one good thing, being able for people coming off the bench to prove themselves and get a lot of opportunities. So yeah, just going for it, I think, is our biggest thing as individuals and as a team, because there's truly nothing to lose.
Yeah, so you've really just had to live the next man up mantra this season.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a relatively young team. There's 7 underclassmen on the team. As a senior and a leader of the team, what has been your role in teaching these younger players?
Yeah, I think just trying to take some pressure off of them. I know what it's like to be out there as a freshman. It can be really scary, and going up against all these amazing girls that you've looked up to for the past 3 years while you were in high school and they were playing. But yeah, just talking to them, letting them know it's okay to mess up, it's okay to make mistakes, we're all human. And yeah, trying to learn from them too, what they teach me about the game, and just kind of shaking things off and like finding the joy and everything out there, because it's all new to them. So that's awesome to see.
Yeah. Well, now you're halfway through your senior season. Your time at USC is coming to a close. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, that's a really good question. I haven't gotten that one yet. I don't know. I think just trying to like cultivate joy. It's definitely been, I call it an adventure that I've been on these past 4 years, all the ups and downs. So yeah, just trying to, I don't know, let people know it's so much harder when you put all the pressure on yourself and you're like so angry about messing up all the time, but just letting people know it's okay to mess up and have fun along the way and make those mistakes, and everything will work out in the end.
Great, thank you. That's all the time we have. So Khalia, thank you very much for joining us in studio today. You can catch her on the Pac-12 Network this week against Utah and Colorado. And now we are going to send it over to Daniel Huynh and Michael Sung for a soccer update.
USC's women's soccer is gearing up for its last and most important game of the regular season, as they will take on arch nemesis UCLA this Friday evening.
USC and UCLA are in a dead heat in the race for the Pac-12 seeding, as both the Trojans and the Bruins each have a 7-3 record in conference play. The winner of this game will most likely determine who will ultimately finish second in the Pac-12. The victor of this game will have ramifications on the Pac-12 championship, as seeding could determine who faces Stanford in an earlier round.
Things are a little different in terms of national rankings, however. The Trojans rank higher than their UCLA counterparts, as USC is 9th in the country with a 14-3-1 record. UCLA, in the meantime, ranks 14th with an overall record of 13-4-1. Despite USC outranking UCLA in national standings, their records are not far apart.
Both the Trojans and the Bruins have had solid seasons, and both teams are expected to have a shot at the NCAA championship.
The Trojans will need to rely on their top 2 goal scorers and forwards, Tara McKeown and Penelope Hawking. The pair have powered USC's offense for a great chunk of this regular season, combining for a grand total of 25 goals.
On UCLA's side of the ball, the Trojans will need to look out for Bruin forwards Ashley Sanchez and Mia Fischel. Fischel leads the Bruins in scoring with 8 goals, and Sanchez has carried the team in assists.
The game will take place this Friday at 6 p.m. at Wallace Annenberg Stadium on UCLA's campus. The game will be televised on the Pac-12 Network. Lauren, Nick, back to you.
With all the running back injuries, you know who the Trojans could use to fill in right now?
No, I don't. Who?
Didn't you watch Monday Night Football? The Cat was the star of the game with 117 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Take a look.
Run and zigzag all over the field. The Black Cat is at the other end of the field. He's
Black
at the
Cat
8.
Doesn't know that it was last Thursday that was Halloween. Thursday night
right,
football,
yeah.
not Monday night football.
He's a little bit late. Now he is sitting and looking. And the Cat runs into the end zone. That is a touchdown.
Well, Lauren, the Trojans really could use that type of production at running back. As you said, 117 yards, 2 touchdowns for the Cat. Hopefully there's a walk-on spot available for him. Sign him up, I think. And unfortunately, that's all we have for today's show. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Nick Kaufman.
And I'm Lauren LaBruna. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Ann Media Sports. See you next week.